Today we discuss my top 5 places to play poker in Los Angeles. I am from LA, so I think I should be speaking with pretty reasonable information. No time to bullshit, so let's get right into it. Number 5 on the list is an easy one for me, the Bicycle Casino. Outside of the fact that they have one of the nicer rooms in Southern California along with some of the better floor staff, everything else for me is just not up to par. The games are not very good, and as of late, their middle stake games are starting to deplete, which is never great for a room as that was at least as prominent as the bike, but hey, things have moved on, shows have moved on, and there's other places that are getting that business. Again, the things that I do like are their floor staff and their buy-in structures. In LA, as crazy as it seems, getting 100 big blinds at lower stakes is almost impossible. So that's where the bike lands on this. Again, a pretty room, but not very good games to choose from. But if you're looking for something comfortable, if you're looking to be feeling a little more at home, this is probably the best option for you. But again, in the stakes that I'm playing at 5-10, don't really care for it too much. That's my 2 cents. The 2-3 game is pretty nitty, and the 5-5 game is hit or miss. I think that's probably your best option. Moving pretty quickly to number 4 on the list, and this one is the Hollywood Park Casino. It's a little far for me, and I think that's why I'm going to be a little bit biased. The 2-5 game, or I think the 5-5 game, is pretty solid there. I've played it a couple times, and I definitely enjoyed it. It's probably one of the better 5-5 games in California, at least specifically to LA, I should say. The room is beautiful. It's probably the nicest room in LA. They have this really nice back session for the higher stake games that I've played in, which are awesome. The only problem is their 5-10 game is garbage, and the 10-20 I think that they run, or 10-25 or 25-50, is private or semi-private. So unfortunately for the regular people like us, we're probably not going to get a chance to play in that anytime soon. Outside of that, the room is beautiful. It's just way too far for me. It's like damn near an hour. During prime time, it's maybe even an hour and a half. So for that reason, it's a little lower on the list. But if you're in LA, I would definitely check it out. It's right next to where the Rams and the Chargers play at the SoFi Stadium. So on Sundays, the foot traffic is definitely there. People park there for the game. So before and after games, I assume that'll be a place where people will come, have a drink, get messed up, and play some poker like maniacs, which we like, obviously. But moving pretty quickly to number 3 on the list, I cannot put this place much higher than this on the list, because then I think I'd be purely biased, but it's going to be the Hustler Casino. Unfortunately for me, the Hustler Casino is, again, a little far from where I live. Outside of that, the 5-10 game's not all that great. It's probably, honestly, one of the better options in the city now, but if I'm being totally fair, 5-10 in all of LA is pretty much dead. The infestation has infested. If I'm being totally blunt, the games are just not as good. Most games, if I'm being honest, at that stake level have been privatized, believe it or not. And yeah, the games are just not as good. So, but I will say the 5-5 game there is great. The buy-in structure is awesome. You can come in for $1,000 in a 5-5 game. That is like unheard of in LA. It sounds ridiculous, but 200 big blinds, it's a blessing in LA. That just doesn't happen all that often. And considering that your only other options are honestly not that close or not that good of games, I think the Hustler really shines bright in that regard. The biggest gripe that I have with the Hustler is just the size of the place. It's really small. The renovations haven't been made. The room feels really old, if I'm being honest, and it's really small. It's kept exactly like how I think it was when Larry Flint was still around. So I don't know, it's just kind of old, and it just feels like it hasn't been touched a lot. And in quite the inverse, the Hustler Casino Live, their set is gorgeous. They have all the best stuff. It's all top of the line, and they have the best dealers by far. Shout out to everyone that works there. Hustler Casino Live, in my heart, Hustler Casino Live is the best casino, the Hustler Casino Live, but unfortunately it is not a casino, and it is another private game that unfortunately not many of us can play in. So unfortunately, without good faith, I just can't put the Hustler any higher than 3. Even 3 is honestly kind of a stretch, but again, I think it's worth it because the staff there does care, and then more importantly, the 5-5 game is pretty solid. They have a good 2-3 game with a very solid buy-in structure. I think their 2-3 game is either 300 or 500 max, and they even have a 3-5 game there that's 500 max, something like that. But either way, pretty solid. Like the structure, like the people there, and more importantly, they film the HCL there, so you get a front row seat to the greatest game in televised poker history any day of the week. So that's a plus. Moving pretty quickly to number 2 now. It hurts me. Another thing that I could easily be biased on, but it's the Commerce Casino. There's nothing good about this place outside of the games. It is no frills, no bullshit poker. It's a poker academy, a poker workshop, a poker warehouse. There's like 100 tables meant for poker. They got limit, they got PLO, they got stud, they got Raz, they got holdem. They got no limit holdem. I mean, they just got everything you could possibly want. They got a horse game there. They got private games. They got public games. And then obviously they got the stream now that I haven't played on. I don't know. That's probably good. Probably not, honestly. And more importantly, I do appreciate what they're doing on their social media. As of right now, shout out to Cairo. He's the one handling all their stuff right now. He's doing a great job making the commerce more in tune with today's day and age, which is the social media stuff. So big props to them for doing that. They always have great tournament series, but outside of that, the place is kind of just a shithole, if I'm being honest. I shouldn't be saying this kind of stuff, so I'm probably severing ties here, but the commerce has no excuse. They should be the best casino by a mile in LA. They have everything you could want. They have the best games in LA, and it ain't close. At least for selection wise, there's like 25 5 games going on a Saturday night. Like, it's everything you could possibly want. Again, the biggest drawback for me is that they put these stupid screens, these massive screens where your chip stats will usually go. And I've showed you guys videos and complained about this before. It's just awful. It's predatory and it slows the game down so much. Get them out of here. We don't want them. No one asks for them and no one uses them. It's just stupid. That coupled with the fact that the place is pretty old and the renovations that have been made haven't been done so in an effective fashion, in my opinion. Moving to number one, and this should be a little bit of a surprise unless you're actually from the LA area, but it's pretty easy. It's going to go to the Gardens. They have the best 5-5 game in the city. They have this crazy 5-5-10 game that's like a bomb pot game where anytime somebody sits in the game, they have to do a mandatory bomb pot. Anytime somebody busts, they do like a bomb pot. And then anytime somebody wins like 2 hands in a row, you get $25 from everybody. It's just crazy. It's absolute madness. It's one of the sickest games in all of LA. And with all these extra side games, it's harder for the regular game players to see it as profitable, I think, as other games. So it's not as crazy, although to be honest, it's getting a little sketchy in there too with the infestation situations. But yeah, anywhere you go where the games are good, there's going to bring good players. It's just how it works. So I'm not really complaining about that. I'm just sharing information that obviously I know or I see. But the Gardens is great. The room is huge. The staff cares. Anytime I come, they get me in a seat as fast as possible. And I'm sure they do that with anyone there. It's not special treatment. They don't know who I am. So big shout out to them. But I will say, blanket statement, the dealers in LA are always really, really, really inexperienced. The turnover rate's just really high. And the only place you're going to find really great dealers is going to be at the Hustler Casino Live, if I'm being honest. So outside of that, the Gardens just takes the cake. It's a massive room. The staff's pretty solid. The food is not that good anymore, I don't think. But yeah, for me, the most important thing is the game. And just behind that is comfort. And they check the boxes on both those things. And I don't think any other casino in LA does that, where it's a nice venue, you feel safe, it's in a nicer area, relatively speaking, and they have a lot of security. The games are really good, especially the games that I play, and that's kind of what matters to me the most. They have pretty much every game that you're going to want. I don't think they run PLO all that often. They do have a private PLO game or like a semi-private game, I think. It might not be private. It's just probably bigger stakes. But that is my top 5 list. If you guys have any questions or disagree with me on any of them, make sure to drop a like first and then comment down below what you think your list is. If I'm missing any room, let me know. But until next time, stay happy, stay healthy. More importantly, y'all, run good at the tables. Deuces.